Hello and welcome back to another Jay's Sports Desk. I know it's been a while. And yes, the name will change. This podcast used to be formerly known as the Serious Football Heads Podcast. I've toyed with using my gamer tag, Zeke373, but I don't know what I'm going to do with it just yet. It's a work in progress. But as I'm going on this about what I want to do here, Jay's Sports Desk is going to be all about all sports as much as I can get into them and want to talk about the different topics and whatnot. So it's not going to be focused solely on the NFL. I'm going to try and get into MLB, MILB, the MLS, NBA, hockey, as their seasons are going on, not just random news and whatnot. So like right now we have predominantly just baseball and MLS. But I also want to focus on like maybe even getting into like some WNBA topics, as well as MLS, even women's professional soccer, World Cup, etc. And the Olympics. So you kind of get what I'm going on about. For those of you watching on YouTube, you get the handy dandy little screen right now, just showing the thumbnail of the show. And then for those of you listening on whatever platform you're listening to, make sure you like and follow and subscribe and whatever topics you want to do. Same with YouTube. I'm going to eventually try to do some live streams of this too, so we'll see how that goes. Plan on getting some co-hosts or at the very least some interview guests and things like that. So let's move on and let's go on to the first topic here. So make sure I remember what buttons are what. There we go. So we're going to start with the MLB, Major League Baseball. Not really going to go too much into anything. I am a Mariners fan, but I want to try and focus away from just the Mariners as being the only topic. I want to kind of touch on a little bit of everything as best I can without doing too much. So like the latest news are pretty much going to be always, who's doing what at pitching, like Skubal, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, or Skubal, I don't know. He got 13 Ks and one hit as pitching, so that was pretty cool. Jazz gets 4 RBIs, Judge hits 2 home runs, and go to work as the Yankees bats come to life. Mariners win in 12. I mean, that's a great one. As some more prominent news articles come up, we will go over them. I'm not going out of my way to steal content from these people, but I will talk about the topics. Let's go over to like standings and stuff. Again, this is me feeling out the show and everything, and I click schedules. So just currently, I'm assuming this is with the games played today as well. Yankees are on top of their division. Detroit Tigers are on top of theirs. Houston Astros, Phillies, Cubs, and Dodgers. Let's take a look at the wild card right now. So you have at the top of the divisions and divided and also ranked by their schedule and everything. And it's nice to see the Mariners in the hunt before the All-Star break. We'll see if that lasts. As a Mariners fan, I've kind of lowered my expectations of where we are going to end up, but I really hope we can hold on to this. And I hope to continue seeing, positive wins and positive gains for the Mariners. Got Tampa Bay as well as Toronto Blue Jays also in the wild card with the Angels and Rangers in hot pursuit. So, and then in the NL, you have the Dodgers, the Cubs, and the Phillies, followed by the Mets, Brewers, and Cardinals. Not really much of a surprise there from what I remember when I followed baseball quite regularly. I'm also going to try and do more fantasy sports as well. Right now, I just do fantasy football, but I think next year I'll try to get into some fantasy football, or not fantasy football, but also maybe some fantasy basketball, maybe some fantasy baseball. We'll see. Just depends on how much time I have available to do those. And yeah, so that's kind of the main MLB topic I want to talk about. I did want to also talk about the NFL. I saw this on Pro Football Talk early in the weekend. This was written by Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk on the NBC Sports Network. And Chris Long speaks out about the NFLPA hiding the collusion ruling. And I kind of have to agree just on a surface level. I haven't really dug into it, but on the surface level, we have Mike Florio writes, when it comes to the collusion ruling that came to light this week, no current players have said a word. Most former players have kept quiet. On Friday, one prominent former player had something to say. Chris Long, who entered the NFL as the second pick in the draft and exited as the Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year and won a couple Super Bowls along the way, hosts the Green Light podcast. In his latest episode, he features Pablo Torre, who unearthed the 61-page ruling in the collusion case. In it, Long bluntly spoke his mind regarding the NFL Players Association's failure to use the partial victory as leverage, potentially in order to protect former NFLPA president J.C. Tretter from internal or external scrutiny over his criticisms of quarterback Russell Wilson for failing to get a fully guaranteed contract in 2022. Link below for this in the discussions and all that. But I'd like you to go give this a read if you haven't already. I think this is a fair point, is that the NFLPA, by failing to kind of disclose this when they had the opportunity to, means that they really don't care about collusion as much as they claim to, in my opinion. And this is entirely allegedly on my side, my opinion. The NFLPA and their, for want of a better term, protections that they seek, they don't seem to want to protect their players from things like collusion, because it doesn't make the game better, so to speak. Because you mar the game, you will end up with a fan base falling out, and mostly bandwagon fair weather fans. The core fans, like me and my friend groups, generally will tough out these black eye events. But I just want to kind of like go over. I just kind of wanted to touch base on these. Now, I'm also planning on discussing some other topics, so we're going to go over here and check this out. Nope, that's not what I wanted. Sorry. Just did a transition slide in. There we go. MLSsoccer.com. That's the website there. Gotta love how some of these guys get into it, but I'm all for it. So I want to kind of get into a lot of different sports than what I usually cover, or what I usually like watching and covering. I've never been to an MLS game. I hope to go one day, but someday. If I were to be a fan of any team, it will be the Sounders. I'm just going to let you all know that now. I am a Seattle fan through and through, even though in hockey I'm generally not. So in the CONCACAF Cup, we have USA beating Costa Rica, I'm assuming. Let's go take a look here. Hopefully I don't get any videos. Yep, Costa Rica, with the U.S. winning 4-3 on penalty kicks. So that's cool. Let's see, World Cup games. You got Flamengo versus Bayern Munich. I hope I pronounced that right. Sorry, Germans. Want to see more regular season stuff. Well, let's go to standings. Let's do that. Sorry. For those listening on audio, I don't have all these images, but I just kind of going over the website and getting used to the layout. So, all right. So we have conference standings. Looks like Philly, Cincinnati, Nashville, and Columbus in the Eastern Conference. Yeah, Eastern Conference. And then in the Western Conference, we have San Diego, Vancouver, Minnesota, Portland. Portland better than Seattle? That's BS. No, I'm just kidding. I don't begrudge, the teams anything because I'm at this point I would call myself a fair weather fan of MLS. And, I want to get into Premier League, European Champions League, etc. Kind of work my way into really getting into the game. When it comes to hockey and stuff, I really hope to be able to do the NHL some justice. That league, I'm a little bit more divided in my teams because like the NFL, Major League Baseball, MLS, WNBA, I'm Seattle through and through on all those, even if I am a fair weather fan on, the Sounders and the Reign. But I'm, again, trying to get into this. So, but in the NHL, I have a dirty little secret. I have been a fan of the Quebec Nordiques, now currently the Colorado Avalanche for a long, long time. And when the Seattle Kraken came in, I started supporting them. And what really sucks is they're both in the same conference. And I think they're even in the same division. NHL.com. Let's go to... They don't really have it, do they? No, we'll figure it. We'll find out. Oh, here we go. So Western Conference. Oh no, they're in two different divisions within the same conference. But yeah, those are my teams. My family says I should be a fan of them because Dallas took our team way back when. Because I'm from Minnesota, born there, not raised there, but But all in all, trying to get my foot back in the game, trying to do some simple early on podcasts. As the rest of I'm thinking after the All-Star game, I'm going to start kind of going into baseball, maybe trying to break some things down or discussing things, maybe going over the rule book a bit more. NFL training camps are coming up. I know we have been having some mini camps and OTAs over there. I'm more familiar with their season structure. So we're getting there. And I'm familiar with baseball as well. NBA just had their draft. We're going to kind of go over that eventually, or at least go over the teams. And as a Pacific Northwest person, I should technically be rooting for the Trailblazers, but I can't bring myself to do it. I'm sorry, Portland, but I don't root for Oklahoma City either. That hurt. Now, again, just kind of going over the NBA right now, and let me pull up the NBA's website really quick while I'm doing this. When it comes to these types of things where a team and a city are arguing about stadiums and things like that and arenas, I don't fault teams for wanting to use the concept of moving. How do I want to put this? Moving away from the city because of, what's, lack of a better term, a contract dispute. That being said, I really hated the way that the Oklahoma City ownership basically fucked around with the Seattle fans. And yes, I will swear this will be an explicit content podcast, but I really find that still is very bitter in my mouth. And I look forward to the day that Seattle does get a team back in the NBA. When that will be, I have no clue. Because, like the NFL and not bringing back a team to St. Louis, maybe that'll happen, maybe that won't. We'll see. But it would be fun. Not saying this to upset Arizona fans or Phoenix fans or anything like that, but it would be rather funny to bring back the Cardinals back to St. Louis. Like back when New York had the football giants and the baseball giants. I believe, if I remember my NFL history correctly, St. Louis had a baseball and a football team with Cardinals as well. But that will be something to look up later. And yeah. So my other goal with all of this is I'm trying to get back in the habit of doing podcasts on all of my platforms or on all of my topics that I like to cover. So sports being one of them, politics being another. That's my Thoughts by Jay Brown podcasts and videos on YouTube. And also travel news and travel ideas. That would be my hop, skip, and a dream. I'm trying not to really have topics cross over between them, but I think I'm going to try and have some sort of crossover, at least with travel and sports. I have a friend of mine who travels all the time to go see different sporting events at different stadiums and things like that. You know, I'd love to be able to follow and do that too, but kind of can't right now. We'll get there someday, but all right. So with that, I want to just say thank you and enjoy your weekend. Enjoy your 4th of July. If I'm not planning on recording that weekend, but if I do, great. If not, have a great 4th of July weekend and peace out, everybody. I don't know why I held up the fingers to do peace because I'm not on camera, but you know, the fun things in life. All right, guys. Take care.